business 36 years professionally, and I've over the pandemic, I've worked so much, you've no idea. Well, I've kind of, because my career, with acting goes up and down. The pandemic, I'm back up again.
I think what I've noticed about the pandemic is that it's made amateur dramatics much more popular, because an awful lot of people now, I've seen a lot of people actually recording plays from their homes and that sort of thing. So
encourages everybody to get involved and do stuff.
It does. Well, we've been making audio plays for years. Well, I'm talking about Knightmare my lot, so it's nothing new to us. But anyway, I'm just going to do an intro for the listeners.
I'll get myself a bit closer later.
Yeah, no problem. So it's usually the other Martin who does this, but because he's not here, I'm doing it. So
I don't know him at all. I just he got in touch with me, so I thought.
Yeah. Okay. So we're the podcast is basically, it's usually we're just doing a review of an episode each week. We're early in season 3 now. So we've done loads of episodes, including discussion of you in that.
Oh, okay.
I promise you we were nice.
I can't remember. You know that I've never ever seen all of the episodes.
I had mentioned of that. Yeah,
I haven't seen I think the whole of season 2. I don't think I've seen any of it.
Yeah,
because I was off on tour, and I play all the things I've seen on YouTube from season 1. Pretty bad quality.
They're probably from the challenge broadcast, so they've got the people talking over the credits and that horrible blob in the corner of the screen as well.
That's right. That's right.
So that's terrible. Okay, anyway, I'll do the intro then. I was going to start by saying welcome, listeners of Illusion, but I've just realised that doesn't make any sense because Illusion's a visual, so I'll scrap that.
Podcast.
So in modesty, I will therefore start by saying hi there, adoring fans, and welcome to Temporal Discussion. I'm your fantastically charismatic host, Martin O'Doney, and this is not an episode-by-episode Knightmare retrospective on this occasion. And I got some real treat for you this week, listeners. I'm not joined this week by Martin Harder. Instead, it is my great honour and privilege to be joined on the podcast by one of North East Scotland's favourite sons. I may be very slightly exaggerating there, but I get a little bit fanboyish when I'm doing these interviews. Please put your hands together and welcome the man who played the original Dungeon Guard and the original Dungeon Jester on Knightmare, Alec Westwood. When I say put your hands together, he won't hear you clapping, everyone, but do it anyway. So, Alec, welcome to the, in spite of very accurate rumours to the contrary, show, and thank you so much for agreeing to be our latest special guest.
I'm delighted to be invited. Thank you very much. You can hear my proper Scottish accent. Mind you, you did hear that in the other character that I played.
We heard a bit of it from Gibbet. From Gibbet, yeah.
I was a bit more Glaswegian with Gibbet. I kind of mean.
Yeah, it wasn't exactly Aberdeen that was coming across there, was it?
I'm from Aberdeen, but I lived in London for half my life, and Glasgow and Edinburgh. So I've got a kind of actor's kind of mid. Yeah. Sometimes in Scotland they think I'm English, but I'm obviously not. When I lived in London and I used to come back to Glasgow, people said, "Where's your Scottish accent gone?" It's one of the reasons I left London, because I was married to an English girl, London girl, and I felt that I was losing my Scots, and I think as an actor, you shouldn't lose what you originally come from. I mean, I love doing characters and lots of things. For instance, Folly was like a, kind of English RP, I suppose, wasn't it?
I would say so, yeah. It was a very good sort of English, old-style English accents, but we're using modern English.
Kind of, that kind of...
Yeah, raw Shakespeare jester. So, yeah, it worked. It worked for what you needed to do.
Well, I mean, that was a remit for the job. They didn't want TV people. I'd never done any TV. That was the first TV that I ever did. They wanted people that had done. I mean, I'd only done 2 years theatre, but non-stop. From coming out of drama school for 2 years, I did non-stop theatre the whole time. I was very, very lucky. I mean, most actors don't get the chance to do that now. Very little opportunity for that. But they wanted, in particular, theatre people because of the format, which was quite theatrical. When the kids came in, it had to be like a live performance.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you couldn't do it more than once, you know. And if we made a mistake, we just had to keep going. And I kind of, you know, we all improvised a little bit, you know, which is quite difficult for my character because he spoke in rhyme.
Yeah.
But I had a few things up my sleeve that I kind of like had written and thought about it. Oh, if I make a mistake here, I can come up with something.
I was going to ask some questions about that later, so you definitely encouraged me to ask about that. Just before we get to the first question, it's wonderful, isn't it? We're about 5 minutes and I haven't even asked you any questions yet.
Oh, go for it. I can talk forever. I can't help it.
No, that's wonderful. It's wonderful. It's making my job very easy here. I should just say, if just in case you are feeling any slight nerves about me asking you anything nasty, Hugo Myatt joined us a few weeks ago for an episode of the podcast, and to his surprise, he rather enjoyed it. So hopefully, it will be the same for you.
It's good. I'm glad to hear it.
So, we won't be doing any analysis of a particular episode for this one. It is purely a discussion of your time on the program. It'll be a cheerful, respectful, and thoroughly brutal interrogation under torture. So nothing for you to lose. Yeah, we're okay with that. Good. So
I'll revert to gibbet if it gets that bad. Okay.
Okay. Well. Hey, I haven't seen you perform gibbet in well over 30 years, so that's
well, I think you only ever appeared twice, I think. And I remember them telling me afterwards that like it was too much. They were like, "Oh God, we think we might have to cut this character."
That's why they removed it. Okay, right.
Yeah, I think they got quite a few complaints.
Did they?
Yeah. Well, I think the last time you saw my character, the second, you know, I killed the cat. I killed the kid.
Yeah.
I kind of moved towards him with my knife, and then it kind of faded away and you saw the skull disappearing. So, you know, they were inferring that I knifed the kid. And I think it was Mary Whitehouse, I think, made a big complaint about it.
I don't think it was specifically that. I think with Mary Whitehouse, it was just a general complaint about the idea of killing kids on TV. But she'd never watched the series at all. So
apparently she said that. That's right.
Yeah. Once she saw it, she did apologize to her credit. So we'll give her that. But yeah, I know what I mean. But this is the thing. The thing about this thing is that it's always the parents who are upset when you get scenes like that. The kids love it. The kids love being frightened. It's actually the parents trying to hide their own fear by using their kids as an excuse for complaining.
This is a bit creepy, but my last girlfriend, who I was with for 4 years, and my second wife, who I was with for 13 years before that, they were both massive fans of the program.
Really? Okay.
Well, my second wife was 9 years younger, and my last girlfriend was 10 years younger. So if you can imagine, they were watching it when they were like 24. Yeah, 23, 24.
I can't criticize.
No, sorry, 13, 14.
Yeah, 14. I can't criticize. I still watch it in my mid-40s, so it's not one for kids.
This is a creepy bit. They fancied me because of the character. They loved Holly.
Right.
You know, I got fan mail over my legs, which I hated my legs. I always had little legs, really little thin things. But then I started gymming and stuff like that, and I built them up a little bit. Yeah, but I got all this fan mail about my legs.
Wow.
From young female viewers. I found it a little bit creepy.
Oh, I don't know. We get a lot of information about trousers on this podcast. I won't go into details here, but one of the Dungeoneers in season 2 had a rather scary experience with Lilith. You remember Lilith?
Oh, I remember. Yeah. She's lovely.
And she's lovely, really. Unfortunately, she died recently. Mary Miller.
Rest in peace. Mary Miller.
Miller. She's one. Me and Mr. H. She's one of our favourite actresses and actors in the entire series. We think she was brilliant as both Lilith and Mildred.
She was older than me, so I was like, I looked up to I looked up to Hugo, I looked up to Mary, but Mary was very nice to me. Hugo, I very rarely met Hugo. We were completely separate all the time. You know, he did his spits completely separately from the rest of us.
Yeah, mention that. But the thing I was going to say, one of the Dungeoneers who's been a guest on it, he actually had a bit of an unfortunate experience of his trousers when Mary Miller came up behind him and screamed at the top of her lungs without noticing, and the inside of his trousers changed colour is all I'm allowed to reveal.
No, that's quite bad.
Yes, look out for one of our season 2 podcasts.
This is not going out at 4:45 on a Friday afternoon. Or it wasn't a Friday, was it? I got told recently. I always thought it was a Friday.
I did as well. It's actually the first 2 seasons. It was actually Monday. I'd actually completely forgotten that. I thought it was Fridays, but
that was so stuck in my head that it was Friday.
Yeah,
I think it was both my girlfriends that told me that. They said,
"Yeah, it came."
We couldn't wait to run home from school to watch it at 4:45 on a Friday, and I went, okay. And I think maybe that's what stuck in my head. I didn't remember it being a Monday.
It could be, but as I say, I actually remembered it. In later seasons, it did move to Friday. But I actually remembered every season as being on a Friday. It came as a shock to me when on Knightmare.com a few years ago when I actually saw that the first season was shown on Mondays. I didn't remember that. I could have sworn it was Fridays.
Yeah, and I think it'd be okay. It's understandable if the first season was like that. Because it was so successful, when it went into the second season, you would have imagined, they'll move it to the Friday.
Yeah.
Because that's a more, a prime time viewing for children, that is. But maybe 4:45 is prime time for every day of the week for a kid, maybe.
I think so. Yeah, it was just the moment when you got home from school, you just prop yourself on the settee in front of the telly to unwind after school.
That's what I did.
Yeah,
I would just get in and put my homework done.
No, most kids, it's we use this to push homework backwards a little bit rather than do it straight away when we get home. So anyway, I'm not going to ask you the boring, predictable question that everybody gets asked in these kinds of nostalgic interviews. So Alec, how did you get picked for the parts? That would be so trite. So instead, I'm going to ask you the following completely different question. Mr. Westwood, please, could you convey to me a summary of the method by which the decision was arrived at to recruit you to become a member of the cast of a certain computerized dungeon adventure game show on children's ITV in the late 80s?
I'm a complete and utter nut job. And at the casting, they stupidly said, just go for it, Alec. And I went for it. I ran around the room. I jumped on top of the table that they were casting on and jumped off the table and just behaved like a complete and utter lunatic and laughed all the way through it.
Laugh is critical, isn't it?
And by the time I got home, I got the job. Because I got in the door and my flatmate said, phone your agent now, phone your agent now. And I went, what? And I phoned my agent and Susan went, Alec, they loved you. They want to offer you 2 series. I went, what?
Magnificent. 2 series.
Over the moon. I really did go like kind of crazy. I mean, like when I was a teenager, I was a punk. Right, I'm 59 now. I was born in 62. So I think when I got cast in Knightmare, I was 25. But I still was playing in bands and stuff like that. So that punk quality was in my acting, yeah. And I'm a very, very physical actor. And I jumped around all over the place and whatever. And I think that was what they wanted as well. They wanted a very physical performance.
I'm sort of thinking of Ed Tudor-Pole there, because he was sort of a
Temple Tudor. Yeah. I think that's right. He was actually
he was sort of punk, and he was very leaping around the place sort of energy.
Swords of 1,000 Men or something like that.
Exactly. That's exactly the video I have in mind. But Swords of 1,000 Men.
I've still got that kind of anarchic quality to me. But once a punk, always a punk. It's not. It wasn't about music. It's an actual ethic. It's an art. It's an art. It's an art movement. Sorry, and I think that was in, and I think they wanted me for that reason as well. I think they liked that quality that I had, and they liked the kind of anarchism that I displayed. Because I mean, when I got directed to do the episodes, we really didn't. She didn't give me very much. Sally, somebody that directed it, female director. She let me do what I wanted. She kind of got me in the room and she said, right, okay, let's go over this bit. What do you think? And I would just do something. She said, I love that. So I kind of really made it up myself.
It's almost interactive fiction for you as much as it is for the player, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, no, I did work on what I was going to do with movements and stuff like that. And I did have the director to kind of yes. But within that framework, I was pretty much free to do what I wanted. Which I think we all were to a certain degree, because the bits with the children were filmed live. They were all one takes. Sometimes there were little mistakes, and we would have to go back and do a second take, but very rare. Because to do a second take, you're giving the kids, we'd have to kind of make, the other three kids are already getting what this little wee bit in the room is about. So you can't go back on it. It's got to be done in a one. Yeah. That again is why they wanted theatre actors. They knew what they were doing. That, you stick them in front of the camera. If you're on stage and something goes wrong, you've just got to come up with something. You got to do it. Yeah. You can't stop and go, oh sorry, can we do another take? You're on stage. And it was a little bit like that, certainly with the two series I did. In
a manner of speaking, the Dungeoneer is the theatre audience, isn't he or she? So so you have that same effect. And if you do go back and retake it, you actually destroy the effect for them, don't you?
I mean, if you look at it, the format was we do it with the children, and then when the child was taken away, the one with the helmet of justice, then we would do close-ups. And that was when you could rectify something that might have been wrong, because then you've got a chance to do it. The kid isn't there. It's just you, or whatever character it is that's in the room. So you've got a close-up without them, and we can rectify anything. But we rarely needed to, because all of us were theatre actors, and if something went wrong, you just had to come up with something and keep going.
The theatre acting element gives you an ability to improvise that others probably don't.
Yeah. It was already there. I mean, drama school, I think all of us, I don't think there was anybody actually that hadn't gone to drama school. And drama school training at that time was all theatre. There was no film, TV training whatsoever. It was all specifically geared to theatre. So improvisational stuff is incredibly important.
Definitely. So your first appearance in the series was actually as Gibbet rather than Folly, even though Folly's the more famous of the two characters she played.
Was it?
Yeah. It was.
I don't remember. It was 30 years ago.
Folly's first appearance, I guess again is something that rather shocked me in hindsight when I went back and looked. Folly's first appearance wasn't until the fourth quest, whereas Gibbet killed off the team from Yorkshire at the end of the third quest. So in fact, Gibbet was your first appearance.
But that was that at the beginning of the second episode?
It's a bit later. It's about around the third, fourth episode, I think it was.
Because I thought Folly came in the second episode.
It might be. It's the first two quests, has to be said, were extremely short. So
so difficult.
Yeah, it was very new to absolutely everybody at that point, so nobody really knew how to play. But the first two quests were extremely short. But I think it was something around about the fourth episode that Folly first appeared. Gibbet, I think, was in the third episode. For the third team. I had to ask you, were you nervous for that very first scene? But it sounds like you can't quite remember.
Well, I mean, yes, I was. I'm very honest when it comes to things like that. Yes, yeah. I mean, I was on TV recently, and the first time I've been on a mainstream TV series for a few years, and oh my God, I was really nervous. But it was really good. I mean, I knew the guy that was, I'll tell you about the program in a minute if you want to hear about it. Yeah. But the main character, it's a big TV series. They were really good with me, and they're like, oh my God, that's great, Alec, that you've still got nerves after 35 years in the business, I wish I had that sort of thing, because people do forget what it's like, but nerves gives you something.
Yeah. Yeah,
and I mean, that character, I could put the nerves into him no matter. It didn't matter, But I mean, I wasn't nervous after that. It was just the very first time I had to do it.
But it gets the adrenaline into you, doesn't it? And that can carry you the rest of the way.
He was such a high energy character anyway, that that helped. It was like a shock of adrenaline.
Yeah.
They ran
Absolutely.
through. But definitely I was nervous, yeah. And I still do get nervous. Even, as I said, I've just done this TV thing, and I couldn't believe, I wasn't nervous until I went on the set and suddenly went, oh my God, I'm nervous. I forgot my lines. And I had to turn around to the director and go, I am so sorry. And she went, don't worry, Alec, we've got plenty. This is me thinking, oh no, get it right first time. Of course not. I'm back on TV. I'm back filming. We've got tons of time and tons of takes. He said, we'll do as many takes as possible to get it right. So you're happy.
And no audience to embarrass yourself in front of either.
Well, on this occasion, it was the very final episode, the very last scene of shooting as well. Right. And it was an incredibly important scene because it finished the whole series. And they were all there, all the producers, all the backstage, the crew. So there was actually about 30 people on set. And I kind of went, oh my God. Right. So I did have an audience didn't quite expect, and I think maybe that added to my nerves a little bit.
Yeah, I imagine it would. They often say playing a bad guy is more fun than playing a good guy. Would you say Gibbet was more fun to play than Folly?
No, because, and I totally agree with you in that. And as I've got older, I've been playing much more bad guys as I've got older. No, because Folly was an interesting character to play, and of course I made them up. You know what I mean? They gave me the lines, but all his characteristics and everything, I made that all up. And also I was kind of free to do what I wanted. So it's very rare that you get to do that sort of thing, to be completely free. You know, he was quite anarchic. He was jumping about all over the place and do what I wanted. And because of the format of filming it, you know, they filmed the whole room. So it wasn't like I had to be in and out of shot or anything. I could jump about the whole room whenever I wanted to, do what I wanted. So Folly was incredibly fun to play. And as I told you, I wanted to do more. I wanted to continue doing it.
Whereas Gibbet was a rather more static sort of guy who basically just stood there looking slightly nastily at people.
Yeah, and he's got a scar down his face as well, and his eyes down. And it was kind of, I think they put a bit of tape on my eye or something like that. And also with Gibbet, I didn't have a lot to do. Both the scenes were very short. If you go back and have a look at it, There's Folly scenes. Some of them were quite. I think there
were several scenes which were over 6 minutes long each.
I think I had to do something with
there was the insults to the death scene with Lawrence Werber playing Cedric the monk.
That was very long, that scene. I
and
remember we were both quite nervous about doing that because of forgetting the bloody lines.
So that was the first multi-dungeon character scene in Knightmare, in fact. That's quite a...
That's right. And as I seem to remember, we did forget our lines and things. You have to speak to Lawrence about that, but I've got a memory of both of us mucking it up, which is natural. But we were okay because I don't think the kid wasn't there, was he? The kid comes into that.
The kid's there, but he's basically standing off to one side whilst you and Lawrence.
So it didn't matter.
Didn't make any difference to him.
What I'm trying to say is the four kids are not interacting with the characters until the end of the insults.
Yeah.
So I think we did have to go back and reshoot that one a couple of times.
Oh, did you? Oh, right. That's an interesting snippet.
I think so. I seem to remember that. Or we got about halfway through and either I or Lawrence mucked up the lines, and then we stopped, went back a couple of lines, not the whole scene, and then reshot.
Yeah, because some of those insults were really quite elaborate, weren't they? So it's not surprising you might forget them.
but I seem to remember, not me, but I do remember Lawrence gobbledygooking bits.
I can't blame him.
Speak to him about it more than me. Get him on.
It was the first one he said was "Quail, you miserable, misbegotten remnants of a recently discarded horse dropping." You see, I stumbled in the middle of that.
Exactly. It's very Monty Python. It's a bit Monty Python that bit, I thing.
It's blooming wordy. That's what it is. My goodness, yeah. They were a hell of a bunch of lines to have to try and to try and learn.
But again, theatre actors, we're used. That's another reason for using theatre actors. We're used to learning big chunks. We're not, film actors are a lot less than that. But I mean, it's a bit of both goes on these days.
Yeah.
I do get surprised a lot of the time when I turn up for filming, and quite a lot of the younger actors struggle with learning lines, whereas us older actors with the theatre training seem to just know that we've got to have it absolutely nailed before we turn up.
It's a skill in itself, learning lines or speeches or anything like that.
I had to do a big theatre production. When was it? 3 years ago, and it was a 3-hander, but there was a huge chunk in the middle where it was just the 2-hander, me and this other actor, and we only had 9 days to get it rehearsed and on. Oh my god! And that was like, I think I was 56, and my friend, director and actor in it, he was 57, and we both struggled to learn it that quickly. But since then, I've realized actually my learning faculties haven't gone, as in my memory hasn't gone at all.
I'd have thought the skill of learning lines is actually very good for keeping your brain sharp much further into life than it otherwise would be.
Yeah, but you've got to have the work to do that. You've got to keep working to do that. If you don't have the work, then for that particular production, I don't think I've been on stage for a couple of years, maybe 3 years, I think. So that little gap, I think, had confounded the fact that and my friend too, that we couldn't remember it. Since then, I'd actually done quite a lot, and the subsequent plays I did straight after that, I had no problem at all with the lines. Straight in, bang, bang, bang.
The muscles were fully enlarged at that point, weren't they?
I've got my own technique for doing that. Everybody's got their own way and method or whatever of learning lines.
Yeah, and a lot of younger ones probably haven't been taught a method, which is why they have to struggle.
Or they've not. It's not been emphasised how important it is to find their own way of doing it, and how important it is to know the lines inside out. So especially with filming, I've noticed that working with a lot of younger film actors, turn up and they're not hot on the lines, and I am, and they go, "Oh my god, you know it inside out," and I went, "Well, yeah." Because
that's your job.
When the camera turns, you throw that away. You trust yourself, but you can't trust yourself if you haven't learned the lines completely inside out.
When they make Red Dwarf, the original producer on Red Dwarf was a guy called Paul Jackson, and he was absolutely brutal with the cast about learning lines. What he'd do was he'd sit them down, all cast around the table, take the scripts away and say, right, perform the episode for me now. And any time any actor stumbled on a line, he would slam his fist on the desk and say, right, start again. And everybody had to go back and restart the entire scene all over again. Well, that is a way of teaching people to learn their lines.
It's a bit brutal, but yeah. I do speed runs all the time. Whenever I do something, I take the actors away and I get them to speed run with me. I'm directing now, by the way. I don't know if I told you that. I'm a fully fledged director. I've been studying at the National Film and Television School, and I've just directed my first little wee short film, and I'm away to go and do a second one. But I insist that actors that are working with me come away with me and we sit down and I go, right, go over the lines again, go over the lines. God, Alec, you like going over lines? I went, yes, go over it with me again. Over. Right, okay. Can we now do that really, really quickly? And it's really good. It's a really good acting thing to do. And I got taught this years ago by very, very well-known famous actors that I've worked with. It's just such a good technique. And the minute you speed run, little things come to you because you're not thinking of the acting. It just comes out. And sometimes it can free you up so that you don't say the lines exactly. I find this with younger actors. They get stuck in a pattern of saying something and they can't do it any other way. And that's a really, really good way to break that. It's just to do very quick speed line runs.
It sounds a lot less brutal than the Jackson approach, anyway.
Oh yeah, well, you should. I think that's a little bit. It's a bit harsh. The comedy, in particular, the lines have got to be like, bang, bang, bang,
You've got to get the timing absolutely exact as well, haven't you?
If you watch a lot of comedy, you'll see that a lot of comedy is actually very fast.
Yeah.
If you see it, a really well written comedy, Blackadder, whatever, anything like that, it's actually very quick compared to drama. In drama, you have a lot of slower moments, you have pacing and stuff like that. Comedy's bang, 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 bang. And it works best that way. Go bang, 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 bang. Ha 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 ha. Then bang, 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 bang again.
Yeah, that sounds like Blackadder.
Yeah.
What was Tim Child like to work for?
We didn't spend much time with him at all. I don't remember spending much time with him.
No.
At the initial read-through, the read-throughs which were of all the episodes. Yeah, we did it in one day. We did a read-through of all the episodes on day one. Then after that, I don't remember spending much time with them at all. The time we spent was with Sally, the director. There's a bunch of bikers in Aberdeen. They've got their own little biker gang. Yeah, but no, they look fierce, but they're like the nicest people you could ever meet. They do charity stuff for children all the time. I get involved helping them and stuff like that. And when they first met me, in this club that's my mate owns this kind of bar club, that the best place in Aberdeen, Drummond's it's called, and the barmaid who knew me really well kind of let it out that I don't know, that one of them was talking about Knightmare, and she went, oh, you won't believe this, but that guy at the end of the bar, Alec, he was the jester. They went, nah, and one of them came up, great big, hello, I just got told that you are Folly the Jester at Knightmare, is that right? And I went, yeah. And I took out my phone, and I've got a picture of me as the jester. And he went, oh my God. He got down on his knees like this. We love you. And I've been friends with them ever since. They adore it.
What was it?
And they're all kind of mid-40s.
How would they react if they met Hugo?
They go, oh my God, ooh, nasty, or whatever. They would do a lot.
Oh my God, yeah. What does that feel like when you get with almost worships like that?
Well, I mean, I'm an actor, so I've been in a lot of things.
Yeah.
But I mean, there was another TV series that I did when I was older called Roughnecks, which was all about the oil industry, and that was full of very famous people. In fact, about 7 of them were in Game of Thrones. But I had kind of come out of the business for a little bit while all that was happening. But with Roughnecks, I got lots and lots of people stopping me in the street and asking for autographs and stuff like that. So I became very, very well known for that. But it was only 2 series, and then it mysteriously disappeared.
Enjoy the adulation while it lasts. In other words, yeah.
I mean, I'm a very down to earth, working class guy in the first place. So, anybody that's a fan comes up to me like that, I will just thank you, brilliant, sign it and whatever, and think, ask them questions. What did they like about it? I'm interested in their take on why they liked it so much, or why they like my character, or whatever. Interesting. I like people.
That's very healthy.
Yeah.
This is something I've always wanted to ask you. Was any of Folly's character, or especially his laugh, was it in any way influenced by Timothy Claypole from Rent-A-Ghost?
No, absolutely not.
It wasn't.
The opposite. Okay. The opposite.
All right.
I absolutely hated his jester.
Okay.
Right. As a kid, I was younger when Rent-A-Ghost, but not that much younger. I hated his jester. I really did. I have got a funny feeling he was at the audition.
Was he? Oh, okay.
I think he got auditioned for it. Right. But anyway, I didn't like his jester, and I deliberately didn't want to do what he did with it. Okay. So maybe it did come across a little bit like that, but my laugh was I tell you what, some of it came from Gremlins.
Oh, I see what you mean. Now you mentioned that. Yeah.
Now you can hear it. I was a big fan of Gremlins, and if you hear Folly when he gets a little bit more cackly, it's a bit like Spike.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah,
the really evil Gremlin. Okay. But I mean, I remember that, and I remember watching that again and again and again, thinking, "Oh, I like a bit of this laugh. I'll take a bit of that. I'll take a bit of that."
So that's sort of part of how you developed the laugh.
Yeah.
Did performing the laugh make your throat hurt or anything? Because whenever I've tried to do an impression of it, it's always my throat hurt.
Yeah. I just can't. Like no, I'm a trained actor, trained vocally to be able to go and do that, be on a stage for 5 months every night, 6 nights a week, 8 performances a week, constantly shouting or performing, And as the jester, it wasn't to a huge audience. It's in a little studio, No, it never hurt my throat.
So meat and drink to you, yeah.
And I'm an established voiceover artist, so half the time I use my voice for work. That you have to look after it. No, never hurts it once.
Cool. Okay. So you had this rhyme that you would often introduce.
Sorry, I just remembered another part of where the laugh came from.
Oh yeah.
I'm a huge fan. It was from Gene Wilder. Gene Wilder.
Oh yes, I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
The Producers and Young Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Are 2 of my favorite all-time comedy films. Now, if you watch him in both of those films, some points when he gets absolutely hysterical, whether he's frightened or whatever, he goes right up really, really high with it.
It does.
That gave me the idea of the high pitched. Sometimes I would start fully off very high pitched and then come down, and they come down with it. You can hear the gremlins there.
Yeah, but just a bit.
The Producers. Those are 2 big influences on me.
Right. The Producers is one of my favorites too.
Yeah, all the Producers, I adore the Producers.
It's such good bad taste, if you know what I mean.
Mel Brooks is just. I've just been reading interviews on it. He's just released his first autobiography called All About Me. I've been reading all the reviews, and I must buy it. Actually, I think he's hilarious. He's still living. He's 95. 95.
Gene Wilder.
No, Gene Wilder died.
Yeah.
Mel Brooks.
Oh, Mel Brooks. Yeah, I saw an interview he was doing on the BBC a few days ago. So I thought you said Wilder. It was talking about Wilder there.
I've got Gene Wilder's book as well. It's quite. I mean, he was quite an interesting character, Gene Wilder. I'm a big fan.
I often thought Gene Wilder should have been the first American Doctor Who, but
completely right. Yes. Yeah, absolutely, completely right on that. Absolutely.
I watched it when he watches Willy Wonka performance. You think that's how a Doctor Who should be played, and he would have been perfect for that.
I mean, Willy Wonka he's slightly because it was geared more towards children. He's contained a little bit in his performance. Whereas if he was a Doctor Who, he would have been allowed to go mental.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Huge fan of him. I'm a huge Gene Wilder fan.
I am a Gene Wilder fan. I can't deny it. I think
he was so funny.
He was as a pure comedy actor, he was one of the greats of the 20th century beyond any shadow of a doubt. Absolutely. Never saw him do anything I didn't like.
No.
In fact, I often saw him do films that I didn't like and then started liking them because of the way he was performing in them. So that takes some talent, that does.
Yeah.
So you had this as Folly, you had this rhyme: folly is my name and folly is my nature, foolishness my character, and fun my alma mater. Did you?
That was my first lines in the whole thing.
Yeah, as Folly, yeah. Remember Gibbet? You did Gibbet first, remember? But
I don't remember that. I remember it the other way around. I remember.
It might be they changed the order they broadcast the quests. So that might be the reason. But did you invent the that rhyme, or was it written for you?
No. That was written. For. Although they were very good with me, the director was very good with me in that if there were bits that I didn't like or were But here's the thing: as an actor, I always find if it's really well written, it's easy to remember. And if it's less well written, it's harder to remember.
Yeah, which is kind of makes sense, because if it's well written, it'll stand out to you more, and so it sticks into your mind.
Flows better or whatever.
Absolutely.
I mean, I do remember rewriting bits and they let me do that. But that was the director sessions, which were one-on-one, by the way, because it's very much you're the only actor in the scene with the kids. So I'd meet the director once. It was only ever one session though. We would have a 2-hour session and just sit down and go through what I'd be, the scenes I'd be in. And, I could bring up, I'm a very confident person, as you can tell. I would just bring it up and I say, look, I'm not sure, I don't like that. I think that's, but I think maybe that was my drama school training. If you're going to suggest something or change something, always come in with what you think. You don't just say, oh, I don't like this.
Yeah.
Come in and go, I'm not sure about this, but I've rewritten it a little bit like this. What do you think? And 9 times out of 10, they will like what you've done, because they know that you're the one that has to perform it. And therefore you've worked on it and you're reading it and trying it out and finding this is a little bit sticky,
Yeah.
And even though it was in rhyme, that was the hardest thing to do, is kind of try and rewrite it as something that's already been written. But a lot of the time the writing was already there. It was good. Yeah. Just a few bits sometimes. Yeah, just needed a little bit of tinkering with.
And they would let you do that. So it's,
yeah.
It makes sense again, because this isn't going to stick to the script, because you don't know how the kid is going to react to you. So they might as well be flexible about that anyway. Because
9 times out of 10, it was well written enough that it would work with the kids.
Yeah.
There were definite starts to a conversation and then a stop where the kid then felt, oh, we've got to come in with something here. Yeah. It was if the kids got something wrong, especially with Folly was a kind of guide character, wasn't he?
Yes.
He kind of helped the kids. He wasn't evil.
In Julian's quest, he was literally a guide, wasn't he?
He was kind of joining in with them a little bit.
Yeah.
Although it's quite interesting that I've got friends that had younger brothers or sisters that watched it, and throughout my life, they've said, and rewatching it and stuff like that, said it's very interesting to Alec. Like, I watched you and I was like 9, but my younger brother was 5, and every time your character came on, he hid behind the sofa, and I got quite surprised at that. But Folly was a nice guy. Went, well, was he? So apparently, to some of the younger ones, I could be quite sinister. They would some of them got a wee bit scared of me.
Yeah, we brushed on that subject. I do think in a lot of cases it's probably just a kind of something like a phobia against clowns.
Perhaps, yeah, and maybe also just maybe because he was so forward, it was so blah, blah, in your face,
For all of that, I'm not reminded of the Joker, particularly when I'm watching you play Folly. So.
Okay. That is one other reference that I had for the character. But I was a big fan of the '60s Batman.
Yeah,
with Adam West,
and
I loved
Cesare
Romero.
Yeah.
So a little bit, and that's another bit of the character came from him, and the laugh came from him as well.
Yeah, that definitely does.
You have a re-listen.
Yeah. There's a pose that Romero would often adopt when playing the Joker, sort of with his arms up in the air like that.
Yeah.
And I see you do something.
He'd look off to the side or something.
Yeah, and that was.
You see me doing with Folly. I do that a couple of times.
Yes.
Probably subconsciously rather more than studiously. If that makes sense.
Yeah, but it's still exercising an influence on you. You can definitely see it.
But some of our influences as actors are subconscious.
Yeah.
Or you just watch something, or you read something, or happen to be doing something that kind of, it all filters in here and then comes out when you do the performance.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was a huge fan of. I mean, in a way, you could say he was a bit of a medieval Joker.
Yes. I just want to put a picture that there's a secret chamber somewhere downstairs in the dungeon where Folly goes and gently tortures some newborn babies to death or something.
I haven't seen
it.
That
just doesn't
episode.
fit. It doesn't fit.
No, I don't think they broadcast that episode.
Oh, was that one of the scenes they cut out? Right. Okay.
I must have been.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I didn't get jailed, so there you go. I'm not in jail.
I won't tell anybody. It will be just you, me, and hundreds of other podcast listeners.
Actually, recently it's quite funny. I was doing an audio play, and up popped somebody I hadn't seen in ages. Was Audrey Jenkinson, who played the
Gretel. Played Gretel.
Yes, yeah. And we were friends back then, but then didn't see her for a long time. And she came out of acting for quite a while to look after her parents, who were very, very ill.
I was going to ask you, how well did you get on with Audrey in real life? So that was actually the next question.
We were really good friends. There was nothing romantic. I was married. I was married to my first wife at the time. So no. It was nothing like that. But we got on incredibly well. We had the same agent.
Oh right, okay. So you're both from Scotland, so I suppose
we recently met. We recently met up again, and we get on incredibly well. And did this audio drama with her, which was great fun.
Oh, that must have been wonderfully nostalgic. That's the word.
Yeah. Well, we were actually having a laugh about it because, like, she reminded me, because I forget, so long ago, blah blah blah, and I've done so much, and she reminded me. She said, "I wonder you got away with some of the things you did, Alec, in a kids program." And I went, "What? Don't know if I'm allowed to say this. I mean, this is going out to adults, isn't it?" I've still not found out what the name is for a jester's stick. You know, the stick.
Folderol. It's a folderol is the correct name for that.
Is it?
Yes.
No, I've never known that. Thank you. I've never known. Okay. Well, do you not remember? I used to sometimes come into scenes and I'd be poking her up the ass with it.
Yes, that is actually the hallmark of her first appearance. She suddenly walks into the old 4-door chamber.
Yeah, and I'm chasing her and sticking this.
And there's this folderol chasing her up the back of her dress. And when we were commentating on that a few months ago, I actually said, "I'm not sure that we should get to play with doing that today." There's a few of those scenes.
There's a lot of things. I don't think Gibbet. We wouldn't have got away with Gibbet today.
Probably not. No,
I don't with that knife and going towards the kid. I don't think we would have got. But anyway, Audrey reminded me of that, and I'd completely forgotten about it. We were working with about 6 other actors who had never seen the program, didn't know what the hell it was. Yeah, and I went, "Oh my God!" And I suddenly remembered doing it. I went, "Oh my God!"
So was that not scripted then, or did you just improvise that?
I improvised that. That was me. That was the Joker part of me.
Yeah. Definitely.
So just chase her, Alec. You're just chasing her, and I went, "Okay, I'm gonna stick this up your bum."
Oh God! I take it you gave her no warning in advance you were going to do that then. Oh goodness me, poor girl.
But I mean, we were friends, so don't worry. It was fine. It was absolutely fine. but I mean, 4:45 and kids program 4:45. A little bit outre, I think.
You were guaranteed to get away with it, though. This is the thing that people don't understand. There's people who don't understand. Kids, as I say, love being scared. They get irritated.
Or seeing things that are outrageous.
Yeah. But parents are terrified of Knightmare, and they always leave the room as soon as it's on. So you can get away with anything because the only people going to complain about it or run off into the dining room or into the study and close the door and go in like that. So you're just
yeah. Well, I mean, but it's like today with in videos and kids games are like that today. I think it's a kind of. It's a babysitting thing, isn't it? Stick the kids in front of that Knightmare, then they can go away for half an hour.
Yes.
Leave them to watch it. And do
as I say, they're so scared. A lot of them really want to go away for half an hour, but that's so. The one thing you're guaranteed is the parents won't be watching it, so you literally can do absolutely anything you want.
Well, I mean, we didn't know that at the time. We weren't thinking that at the time. No. I was just given the remit. Basically, do what you want, Alec, as long as you don't swear. Within reason, kind of just improvise. That's how I got the job. I didn't have I don't remember a script at the audition. I don't remember doing scripted stuff. I remember just improvising and just going mad and jumping about.
On the subject of swearing, the episode that just been covered is episode 4 of season 3. There's actually a moment in there when one of the Dungeoneer's advisors drops the F-bomb. And he does it so quietly that you can actually miss it.
Did it air?
Yes, it actually got into the. It actually got into the. I don't think the editor ever noticed because he said it so quietly, but you can actually see him and you can just barely hear him going, "Fuck." So yeah, I say go on YouTube sometime. Series 3, episode 4.
Series 3, episode 4. I think
it's episode 4. Yeah, I think it's episode 4, and it's around 4 minutes 20 in. I think it is. Watch the middle advisor, little fellow, going. So if he could get the way I see it, Alec, if he could get away with it, why couldn't you?
Well, I know, because fine, I would have been fucking edited out.
Yeah, you do know, of course, that Mr. H, who does the editing on this podcast, is going to edit that.
He's going to edit that bit out for you.
We use the goblin horn sound effects to cover F-bombs.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why. I just want him to leave the word "fuck" in, but I
can't remember what the goblin horn sound.
It was after your time. It was introduced in season 3. So you probably need to be reminded of it. But yeah, it's sort of thing.
Oh yeah. No, I think I have heard a bit of that. So.
Yeah, probably.
It's a shame. Again, I'm going to go back to that. I really did want to do. They offered me another 6 series. They knew that the remit, they got another 6 series from after we'd finished the second one, because of the response was so good and it was so popular. So they offered me that, and I wanted to do it, but my agent and I, bless her heart, she's dead now. I think she was right. She was looking after my career. She was a personal manager, not just an agent taking money.
There is a danger of becoming typecast, isn't there? It's yeah.
I mean, I know because I was in makeup, I might have been able to get away with it.
Yeah.
But your name comes up, go, oh right, I'm up for a serious, drama, and TV drama, and they're in the room. Producers go, oh, what's this actor? Oh, Alec Westwood. Oh, didn't he play the jester in that kids program? Oh, he's not quite right, because they really are quite short-sighted. They see you as that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a few parts for the Roughnecks series that I did. I played a kind of unsavory Glaswegian character.
No stereotypes here, please. Eh? No stereotypes here, please.
And well, yeah, I know, but I made them more sensitive than that.
Yeah.
That's why they cast me, so that he was 3-dimensional. But for about 5 to 10 years after that, those were the only parts I got offered. And so I had friends who were casting agents and come out drinking with me for a night and go, "It's difficult to get you in, Alec, because you were so good in Roughnecks and so convincing as that character that is who they see. The producers see you that way. That's ridiculous. I'm an actor. I can come across.
That is the actor's nightmare, isn't it? You can do too good a job for your own good.
Yeah. Well, I'm lucky. I'm quite versatile. I've done lots of different characters and different types of parts, and it's actually been interesting as I've got into my 50s that I've been known as like a character actor now.
Yeah,
and that's great, because being known as a character actor amongst producers, I get seen for anything. I'm not just stuck. Obviously, I'm stuck with the way I look, and that will convey a certain thing. But my acting, my ability, I'm very, very versatile that way. I'm consider myself very lucky. Whereas when I was younger, it wasn't quite the same. I was kind of a little bit stuck with that character I did in Roughnecks.
Yeah.
And I would have possibly got stuck with the Folly tag,
Precisely, yeah. So.
But very quickly, because I was talking, and I don't know if you recorded this. I think I was talking about it before you started recording. That Ted offered me another part.
Tim.
Did we mention Tim? Why do I call him Ted? Because there is another Ted Childs.
Yeah, there's a director you've worked with. I think it's recently is what you meant. Yeah.
Maybe that's what. But they offered me, and oh God, I would have been so happy. I've got to do this. He was a mixture of a king cobra and Gollum.
Wow, that is two extremes.
Tim sold it to me. He went, Alec, I would be we know your movement from doing Folly and all the theatre stuff you've done, which are movement based. We would absolutely adore you to do this. I mean, in a way, I'm very happy that they didn't develop that character. They had specifically thought of me for it. But, you know, it was like, we wanted you to play Folly, obviously, because you're a very popular character and we love what you do, but we were going to give you a bit of fun and do this other thing where you kind of slither along the ground, but you're like Gollum. But then suddenly you turn into this King Cobra.
That sounds incredibly cool.
It would have been fabulous.
That would have been a fantastic Spider-Man villain, in fact, wouldn't it? It would have been perfect.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I was quite surprised. I mean, I didn't watch a lot of the subsequent series, but as far as I know, nothing like that never happened, did it?
Well, there was a cobra, literally just a cobra, a giant cobra that appeared in season 3. It was called the Dreaded Car. It was just, but it was just a bit of video footage of a cobra appearing out of the hole.
I think that is probably
that's where they got the idea from.
But they wanted, they wanted me on the ground and just like with my hands on the floor, with just my upper half of my body, which was human, but then would suddenly turn into this cobra. Yeah.
And therefore make everyone jump.
They obviously thought of me specifically for that. Didn't.
Can you remember what
not to do it.
Can you remember what the character's name was going to be? Because this is
I don't think that even was the name at that point. I think this was a development thing, and if they got me back, that they would develop it with me.
I really wish it had happened. I've got to say. I've got to say, I really wish that had happened. I really think that would have been great.
I'm sad about that too.
Yeah.
I was really sad to turn it down, and I want everybody to know that I really wanted to continue. And Folly could have developed as well. Folly could have got more so that he could have got quite evil at points. Who knows? There was lots of opportunity to do things with Folly.
Well, if you think about it, you did get to play Folly as a kind of reverse, because you had that quest when you lost your laughter and you suddenly became this really miserable, a bit like Motley, actually. A bit like Motley. So they've already tried to make the guy miserable. So that's the next inversion, isn't it? Make him evil.
Well, I've actually done it for friends up here. My friends run a kind of goth stroke metal stroke punk night up in Aberdeen. I don't remember what it's called now. It's actually just started up again. And of course, it's a way to stop again because of COVID. They were huge fans of Knightmare. Yeah. Very good friends of mine, the promoters in Aberdeen, a couple. And they said, "Oh, Alec, we would love you to kind of turn up and do like a kind of, it was a Christmas event. And I've done it a couple of times for them, where I'm a kind of evil Christmas jester. The Christmas crackers, I had them as like extensions of my fingers,
so fingernails,
and I had a black smile and blacked out eyes, white face and blacked out eyes, and I just ran about terrifying people.
That would be perfect for Knightmare.
It was almost like the negative, polar negative image of Folly.
Yeah, Elof. We'll call him Elof. We'll call him Elof.
Oh no! I just remembered I actually developed that character from a horror event. I got involved with doing horror events.
Yeah,
I still do, mainly for Halloween, and they used me as the kind of guy that tells the story. Like, we've got this big carnival in Aberdeen down at the beach, and it's not like anywhere else. It's not a traveling carnival. It's actual it's a permanent fixture, with an inside and bowling alleys and everything. And they got me to go and do this horror event there, which every weekend in October. Did it? It was called Carnival. Yeah. It was a huge thing, and I got to develop that character. And I would tell the story of how everybody got killed by one of the clowns going mad. Yeah. And terrified everybody doing it. And I did it as a jester. That's where it came from. That was the first time I did it.
The season of good cheer.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
when actors are asked what their favorite scene or episode is on a program they've been on, they usually just say the one they got the most to do in.
Yeah.
So as we were saying earlier, you got the insults to the death duel with Cedric in season 1, and in season 2 you had the Sorcerer's Stone thing in Julian's quest, which kept you on screen.
I've still never seen that episode.
So that was 3 consecutive rooms. Did these 2 stand out to you, and which is your favorite, would you say?
No, my favorite was actually the very last scene I ever did.
Okay.
Which is when I baked Hugo, the dungeon master. I baked him a cake.
The Gooseberry Fool, I think it was.
Was it called that? I can't remember. Again, I've never seen that episode.
You haven't? Oh gosh, yeah.
Now I love doing that, and I'll tell you why.
Go on.
It wasn't a particularly long bit, but I had a big bit to do before the kid came in, I think.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, you were throwing flour and bits of dough all over the studio. Well,
basically what it was that was the very last scene I ever filmed. And they deliberately did that because they would have had to clean my costume. And they just said, Alec, and I went, okay, how much can I go crazy here? Yeah. As in, like, the costume's going to get covered in flour and cake.
It was.
Yeah. And the costume woman said, Alec, we got taught this at drama school. Never ever piss off the costume people. Never ever piss off anybody in the crew, because they will make you look bad. Okay? And don't piss off the costume people. I'll tell you a wee story about a friend of mine who did on a show that I was in, and you'll understand. They're very powerful people.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I was like this. Oh my God, I don't want to get your costume messed up. You'll have to clean it, and what if it doesn't clean properly? You'll have to make another costume. And she went, no, Alec, it doesn't matter. The director was there with Sally. But nope, just go crazy. Completely cover yourself. And it was only one take. We did it in one take. I have never seen it, but that was the most fun I've ever had. It was just great. I just went crazy. I'd love to see it. I've never seen it.
Again, it's on YouTube. I think it's season 2, episode 14. I think it is. It's something like that.
It must be near at the end of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Is it not episode 16? Is it not one of the last bits altogether?
No. It was just after you got the laughter back. So it would have been. Right. I think it would have been team 11 or 12. I remember that you singing a song whilst you were throwing the flour and the dough.
That's right. That's giving me memories. Yeah, I was singing a song, wasn't it?
Yeah, the last line of the song is, now someone's got to eat that muck.
Now what?
Now some poor sod's got to eat this muck.
I think I made that up.
It does sound strangely well improvised. It does.
I think I made that up. Yeah. But that was my favorite scene, because I just could go crazy, and of course, actually, and rightly so, we didn't know that they were going to get more series. Yeah. And as an actor, this happens all the time. You're always, when you do a new program, a new series of something, you are always contracted to 2.
Yes.
Contracted to series 1 and 2. The reason for that is if series 1 does really well, when it comes to, and if you were only contracted to 1 and it does really well, they might not be able to get you back for 2. And you're integral. They want to keep the same people.
Yeah.
Yeah. After series 2, then you renegotiate contracts, blah, blah, blah. But they always want to make sure that they've got you for 2 series. So I remember doing that scene thinking, well, this is probably the last time I'll ever play Folly. And I was right. And I was right. So I remember just really going for it, going, fuck it, I'm going to go crazy here and just have a laugh. Yeah. Because I'm never going to do this character ever again, maybe. Fingers crossed, maybe it will get another, it might do really well. We knew at that point that it had been received, the first series had been received very, very well, but there was still never any guarantees.
Well, it was really expensive to make, so there was always the danger that CITV could cut it at any moment, just for budgetary reasons. But it just proved so popular. Yeah.
But not for the actors. We got paid terrible.
I know.
No, children's TV, absolutely appalling. It's apparently it still is. I've got a friend who's in, oh God, what's the thing she's in? Molly and Mac. You know that kids program? Don't know if you know that.
No, I don't. But
yeah, it's quite a big kids program. She's in it, and I remember speaking to her about it and going, "What's the wages like these days?" She said, "It's still a lot less than adult dramas." I said, that's not right. It shouldn't be like that, you know. Yeah, but it is, and I mean, we got paid terribly, really bad wages. It wasn't much more than theatre. I know that was another. I mean, I'm not into money. I do it because I want to do it. But obviously, it is my career. I do have to make a living as well. And I remember that being another thing that my agent kept saying to me. You know, it's like, Alec, you know, you may want to do it, but you know, every summer, that's 6 to 8 weeks of your summer for the next 6 years, and in the summer is when filming is at its peak.
Yeah.
If anything I try to get you in, you can't. You know, you won't be able to get in it because we will say, "Oh no, Alec's contracted every summer for the next 6 years," and you know, Alec, you're going to get 10 times an episode fee as you get for Knightmare. I couldn't believe her. I couldn't believe her. And of course, I did 3 adult dramas in a row, TV things, straight after I turned it down. And she was absolutely right.
She was right.
I went from like 200 an episode to 4,000.
Wow,
that is a huge,
huge meteoric difference.
That's still sad though, because you know, I knew that it was fun doing Knightmare, and I knew, oh, they were going to give me that other character, which would have been great fun, and I just loved doing it, and I knew it was going to become a cult thing. I just knew. We all knew.
Yeah, I think we all knew. Yeah. So pragmatism does have to win in the end, really, doesn't it?
And I've had a whole career, you know, since then. I've gone on to do lots and lots, done lots of other things.
Yeah, and you might not have been able to.
Yeah, I might have been typecast. That would have been.
Yeah, so she probably was right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, with hindsight, yeah, but that was her job, was to personally manage me, and you know, obviously just a young actor, didn't know what the hell I was doing. She'd been in the business all her life, so she knew what she was doing.
I know a couple of actors in their 60s, and they still don't know what they're doing. It's time to be a little bit naughty here. Who do you think was the best actor or actress among your colleagues? Let's start rubbishing some of your colleagues.
I'm not going to do that.
No, okay.
But I'll tell you. I mean, I thought all of them were all. I think I said this at the beginning of it. Some of these, in fact, wasn't I the young me and Audrey Gretel?
You were probably the 2 youngest. I would say probably.
Everybody else was older than us, so I looked up to them all. You know, and also, I mean, I only think I had one little bit with Mary.
Yeah.
With the bridge, there was a bit when we went over the bridge and it crumbled. So I think Mary was part of that, wasn't she? Sorcerer's Stone one, wasn't she part of that?
I don't think she. I don't think she was in that one. No. I think you started with John Woodnutt as Merlin, and then you met Edmund Dane as Gumboil on the bridge. He was drunk.
Edmund and I are good friends on Facebook.
Yeah,
we argue quite a lot because back in 2014, obviously, I was very into Scottish independence and for it, and he was.
I remember.
Obviously, me and him had big arguments about it.
Yeah.
But interestingly, Edmund came round to my point of view recently.
Yeah.
He said, I completely understand with Brexit why you would want that. I went,
yes.
Thank you.
Who the hell wants to be part of Brexit?
Yeah. I got on very well with Edmund while we were filming it, and but I looked up big time to John Woodnutt.
Yeah.
You know, he was a well-known Shakespearean actor, and Hugo, of course. So I had nothing but respect for them, and Mary. I really thought Mary.
As I say, me and Mr. H, we really do adore Mary Miller. We think she was fabulous, as she played a villainess like nobody on earth could play a villainess.
Superb actress.
Magnificent, yeah.
So no, and Lawrence, I loved doing that the duel sequence with Lawrence. You know, brilliant to work with.
I've got a soft spot for Lawrence because I loved his performances as Cedric. I wasn't quite so happy with his Casper the Key, but that wasn't really his fault. It was just a horrible character, that. But I really do love his performances as Cedric. Especially love the way that he always smiled really broadly when he was saying something bad-tempered. It was lovely little. That's the way a bad guy should be.
That little insults, you know, that was great fun. That was really good. That would be my second favorite after the cake scene. But if you were to say, do you have a favorite with another actor, because I think I only had about 4 interactions. It was that one with him.
Yeah, cool. So what can you give us a little brief summarizing of what work you did after leaving the series? As you've mentioned a few things, but
straight after that I came back to Glasgow, although I was still living in London, and I did Taggart. I've got a big part and a very important Taggart called Death Comes Softly, which was that was with the original Taggart, which were kind of very much like what the like Scandi noir, you know, that very, very gritty. And
absolutely,
Taggart was the first British series that did that.
Yeah, I often think Cracker was heavily influenced by Taggart. I think
definitely. So that had a great part in that. It was like 3 1-hour episodes. You know, it looked like I was the killer. Great part. I did that. The guy that played Taggart was very, very ill, and they thought he was going to die. So before that, I did they looked at what they would replace Taggart with, and they had a pilot series called Bookie with a very really amazing Scottish actor whose name has escaped me at the moment. He died quite recently. He was in Tutti Frutti. I don't know if you remember Tutti Frutti. You might be too young. But anyway, Maurice Reeves.
Oh yes, I do. I know Maurice Reeves. Yeah.
Maurice playing this kind of bookie who inadvertently was mixed up with the underworld and kind of, you know, so that but he kind of was a good guy. He tried to be like a detective kind of thing. Yeah. So that had only 3 episodes, and I that was the very first adult drama I did, and from that I got Taggart. Yeah. But Taggart didn't die. He ended up being a good friend of mine. Mark McManus taught me tons. Took me kind of under his wing and mentored me because I didn't know what the hell I was doing, you know.
As I say, I know actors in their 60s who don't know what they're doing. Just if that's any reassurance to you.
Taggart, Bookie, Roughnecks I got, which is the big one.
Yeah.
I was a main character in that for 2 years. That was full of like huge James Cosmo, Liam Cunningham, Ricky Tomlinson, you know, huge series at the time, but unfortunately the oil industry didn't like it and they bought it off the BBC, and you'll never see that again. You won't see a repeat of it. You won't see it anywhere. You can see me in the credits, the opening credits. That's all you can get on YouTube. Can't get it anywhere. I've got no episodes because a big fire happened in my flat in Edinburgh, and all my original copies of everything got burnt, and you can't get a copy of it. So
the oil industry
in Australia has got a copy off the TV that offered to sell it to me. I don't know. I was in Holby City. I mean, did lots and lots of 1 episode things and everything.
Yeah.
Holby City, Still Game, which I don't know if you watched any of that Scottish program.
I think I saw an episode of that.
I mean, it's huge. Still Game is like one of the top Scottish programs. So I was over the moon when I got it. I was like, zenith. That was a zenith to me. Brilliant program to be in. Holby City, Shetland. I've just been in Shetland. Yeah, you ever watch that TV program called Shetland?
I'm feeling rather ashamed of myself.
Basically, a Taggart in Shetland. It's one of the top BBC programs.
I should say I don't watch much TV these days, so that when I do, it tends to be old stuff. So
some people that might listen to this might know what I'm talking about. Okay. Shetland, Series 6. This is the last series. It's just been on TV. and I had a lovely bit in that in the very last episode.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing for me, you know. But I've done a couple of feature films. I was in this thing last year called Schemers, which was all set in Dundee, which has kind of got a kind of train spotting vibe to it, but a kind of low budget train spotting. Although it's not about drugs, it's about the music industry in 1979.
So it might as well be about drugs.
Well, maybe. I've got a nice little bit in that, and I did a big American horror film starring Danielle Harris, who was huge. She's huge, scream queen. She was in the reboot of Halloween.
Oh, was she? Oh, she's been.
Yeah, huge.
She will be huge. Yeah.
It's quite incredible. I've got a friend lives up here, and he kind of made little horror films, very low budget, and I did one with him, and then two with him actually, and he then decided, he went to America, and they give him money to make film. He's made 2 films now in Aberdeenshire, so he uses the rural location here, but it's actual all American actors, and I think he was thanking me for having done previous films with me. I'm the only British person in it. I'm the only Scottish person in it, and I'm actually doing American for the first time. I've done American on stage. I've never had to do an American.
Do me an American accent. Go on.
I don't know. I talk like that. I don't know what the hell do you want me to talk about. I don't care.
Bit of the Bronx. Yeah,
it's way back here, man. It's like right back there in the throat.
Yeah, you sort of just a little bit for the nose as well. You know what I'm saying?
No, that's much more Bronx, man. That's like more like that, man. You know, get started going to Scorsese territory.
We'd make a bloody good mafia partnership, wouldn't we?
Well, I had a really nice part of that, and my scene is with her. And the part, I didn't know who she was because I'm not a big horror fan, and I hadn't seen her in the reboot, but she's absolutely huge. So I did that. That came out last year as well. These are things that I did 2 years ago, but then came out during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just got seen for a major feature film in London, but don't think I've got that part, which would have been amazing. I'm not allowed to talk about it. But I've got a feature film coming up in London during 2 weeks in March, which is a little comedy, kind of farce, Ealing comedy type thing, called Full Bodied. So you'll hear about that. And probably it won't be out until 23. But that's the next big filming job that I've got. But meanwhile, I do lots of independent little reproductions. I do lots and lots of little short films that win awards and stuff like that, which I'm completely different in every part. Some are very funny, some are very depressing. I recently played an Alzheimer's, early onset Alzheimer's person. I played I think you'd like. It's like a Ghostbusters thing,
right?
But it's a local council Ghostbusters thing set in Edinburgh. It's been winning awards. We've actually pitched it to the BBC as a 6-part series.
Right. Okay. I'll look out for that. That does sound interesting. Yeah.
Revenant relocation officers. If you want a link to any of these, I can give you them.
Please, yeah.
Some of them you can publicly view now, and I've got a stack. I've got a heap that I've done about 5 over the last since April, and they won't be coming out. What happens is you do a short film, and if it's any good, the director will put it into festivals and you've got a year to put it into festivals. I mean, they're good adverts for actors. A lot of us actors do these little short films because you never know who's going to see them.
Absolutely, it's your shop window, isn't it?
And you get to try things you might not get to do on bigger productions. And a lot of the time I've got the main parts in these. So really good. I did a sci-fi thing that was on in London recently. That's won lots of awards. Little sci-fi thing, and we did it on no budget whatsoever. We shot it on a bit of sand dunes beside Trump's golf course. Luckily that we didn't get stopped.
Did the film end with his golf course getting annihilated by alien invaders? Please,
no, pissed on by all of us.
That's close enough. That's close enough. I'll take that. Yes.
But I mean, it does. I mean, the guy the director is a friend of mine. He spent 2 years working on the effects. That's what he does. He's a graphic effects guy. But we all did it for nothing. He did it for nothing, and it's gone and won all these bloody awards. It was on in an IMAX in London, not that long ago. I think in September it was on in an IMAX. Won a big award. I mean, it does. It looks like an episode of Star Wars, but it's set on the beach up here, and we've got some amazing dunes just a couple of miles up the road that do look like they could be, you know,
Tatooine.
You can see a Star Wars type, you know, Tatooine. That's what.
Yeah, Tatooine. Yeah.
That's my ambition, by the way. You know, I'm not going to be satisfied as an actor unless I get in Star Wars or Star Trek. I'm a massive Trekkie, and I'm really into Star Wars as well. And so far, I haven't, but I've now got, since last summer, but believe it or not, I've got myself an amazing agent again, because my original agent died. Yeah. And I then came out of the business for a bit, didn't have an agent, and it's only since last summer that I've got a top agent again. So I'm getting seen for big projects again, you know, which is great. And this time off, now I'm an older actor. I've got more of a character. I've got, you know, I feel like I'm a better actor as I've aged.
On the subject of Star Wars, I can really picture you as a Jedi Master. I really can. I can see you wearing the hooded cloak. And
interesting. I mean, I always see myself as a baddie. I see myself with lots of prosthetics, you know. That's
or alternatively, I could see you as a Sith, maybe something a bit like Darth Maul.
I played a little character in a short, and I had amazing makeup for it. And I do look a little bit like Palpatine.
Oh, well, there you are then.
So I'd love to play a baddie. I like playing a baddie. Actually, an actor that was in Roughnecks with me, you won't believe this. Now, what people don't believe this until I go, okay, go and have a check the cast list on Roughnecks, see my name, see this person's name, and they all go, oh, he's huge. He plays the baddie in oh God, which one is it?
Phantom Menace?
Rogue One.
Rogue One. All right. Oh, is it Orson Krennic?
Nope.
The baddie, or
I can never remember this actor.
Tarkin.
We became really good friends for this whole month that he was filming on Roughnecks. Me and him we were like this. He was originally an Australian actor.
Yeah, it's the guy who played Orson Krennic.
The same age as me.
Yeah, it's
Yes, it is the guy who plays that. Yeah. What's his bloody name?
Hang on, let me use my awesome powers of memory and look it up on Google. Yeah. I was watching Rogue One just 2 nights ago. I can't believe it.
I'm sure it is Rogue One. Yeah, it is Rogue One. It is Rogue One.
Orson Krennic, or Director Krennic is.
I think I'm a little bit similar to him in something. Me and him have always had something similar about us. Besides one,
I can actually say that there is a slight physical resemblance now that I think about it. Ben Mendelsohn. Ben
Mendelsohn. Yeah. Well, me and him,
of course.
And quite funnily enough, we were enemies in Roughnecks. There was this whole scene that we were playing like Mastermind. And it was one rig against the other rig, and we were against each other, and he was my enemy in that program, which is quite interesting. Yeah, but Ben and I have got something similar, ages and characters we played and stuff like that. It
was in the Dark Knight Rises, a Batman film about 10 years ago.
That's right.
It was playing Roland Daggett, I think the character it was called.
Yeah, that's right.
Bane.
I remember that was the first time I saw him again. I went, "Oh my God, where have you been? You're a brilliant actor." But it goes like that. Like me, I've had a kind of like 15 years of not being in the wilderness sort of thing. But really, over the last 2 years, I'm coming back very much to the forefront.
Well, who can argue with that? That's. That's really. Did you carry on following Knightmare after leaving the series, or was it something you just
not really because I was so busy? I literally for the first 10 years of my career, I never stopped working. Yeah. As I told you, I didn't even see any of my own episodes, and I never saw any of the second series. I still haven't, because I was away every night on tour.
Your character was replaced by Motley, of course. Are you friends with Paul Valentine at all?
Don't know him at all.
You don't know him at all.
And I mean, I think I kind of saw him play it once. Yeah. And I think it was out of curiosity. I went, oh, right. Well, that's what they've replaced Folly with. Fair enough. But I mean, I was quite happy because instead of getting another actor to play Folly, because they could have done that. That's what I thought they were going to do, because, you know, he's in makeup. You know, I didn't think it would have been too difficult to have replaced me. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I was unique. I don't know. But I was quite pleased that they got a completely separate, completely different actor with a completely different name and a completely different performing style.
Yeah, he is very, very different. So
very, very different.
What did you think of Motley as a character insofar as you knew him?
What he does as an actor is good. It was just so different from what I did, and I was actually delighted with that. That's what I'm going to say.
That's
I was delighted that it wasn't just an actor that stepped into Folly's shoes and costume and did, you know, replace me.
I agree.
He did a completely different thing and did his own thing with it, which I think is great.
Yeah, I agree. I always find recasting always goes wrong whenever it's done. So it's always better to just make a clean
completely new character.
Yeah. I would agree.
Did they ever say what happened to Folly? Did Motley just turn up?
First episode of season 3. There's a couple of mentions of Folly. There's a War Monster scene where they actually ask a question where the answer is Folly.
Okay.
Treguard gives the team a clue saying, "Who makes you laugh in the dungeon?" So I made a meme about that a few years ago when you commented on it, but I shared it on Facebook, calling me a cheeky git. So
I seem to remember that.
Yes. So that was actually a very proud moment for me. Folly actually calls me a cheeky git. That takes some doing. So yeah,
but they didn't say Folly's gone off on a quest or something. They didn't tell the kid what happened.
The only other mention happens later in the same episode. Treguard, Motley's makes his first appearance, and Treguard mentions, "We used to have loads of trouble with Folly, but this new jest is proving to be a complete time waster." So what that indicates is that Treguard preferred you to Motley. That's on Hill. But that's about
really?
But that's about all there really was.
I mean, because I would have thought, I think, I think they possibly were a bit pissed off at me for not coming back, you know. But I did do a personal call with Tim, apologizing and saying, look, you need to let me go away for a week and really, really think about this, because I really want to do it. My agent doesn't. I don't want to lose because I'll lose my agent over this, you know. And it was a huge thing for me to have such a good agent, right, straight out of drama school. You know, I was like, oh my God, I can't lose this agent, but at the same time, I want to keep doing Knightmare. It's fun, you know. So that was one of the hardest decisions I've had to make in my life, you know. I thought maybe they weren't too pissed off me then.
Yeah, I think they respected your decision. If they wanted to slag you off, they'd have probably put in a bit of dialogue for somebody saying, "Oh, what a pity that Folly getting eaten alive by that dragon. Wasn't it horrible?" Yeah. Something like that. They didn't.
It's really funny. But do you know Paul Flannery? You know Paul Flannery?
Yes.
Paul Flannery.
Well, I've seen him performing on Knightmare Live.
You did?
Yeah.
Well, did you go and see I think it was the second one, or was it the very first one they did? Because they invited me to come and see it at the Edinburgh Festival. Yeah. Oh, right. They put it on as a piece, and it got sold out. It was amazing. And Paul said, "Oh, you know, I think you're going to be really pleased when you see this, Alec." And part of the story was all about Folly.
Oh, right.
In the Knightmare Live. It's hilarious, because I thought they were really fun. It's actually the second time, because it was the second time they did it. Right. First time they did it, I went on as a guest and went on and with stand-up comedians, and we were the dungeon masters. And then at the very end of it, I got a standing ovation, because right at the very end, Paul went, I know we just introduced him as Alec Westwood, but he actually was Folly the Jester. They went, no, man. I was like, oh, thanks, guys.
I'm not in any way trying to cut you down here when I say this, but I should also point out, in my experience, Knightmare Live crowds will give a standing ovation to the knapsack whenever it's presented to them.
Correct. So, no, you're not putting me down at all. Correct. Let me finish though.
Go on, sorry.
The second one I went to see, which I loved, I think it's that way around, maybe the other way around, but it was all about, it was a quest to find Folly. That was what it was all about. Yeah. And I went, and I was with a female pal of mine, and she went, oh my God, they made it about you. And I went, oh my God, I'm going to try this. And it was interesting. And it was all about why Folly disappeared.
Oh, right.
It was hilarious. A witch had put a spell on him. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And it was really, really fun. But I mean, you know, Knightmare Live, a lot of it is comedy. It's a mix of being irreverent and taking the piss, but at the same time being completely, we love this program.
Yes.
So it was a mixture of those, which I think really works well.
Yeah,
Paul got it. Paul got it exactly.
Yeah,
right.
Nostalgia has to work that way. There has to be an element of snark. There has to be an element that you sort of say.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're taking it too. Yeah. Otherwise, you're taking it too seriously, and then you just come across as a fool.
Yeah.
So
sounds like you're arse slicking. It just seems like you're arse slicking rather than making a good thing. Yeah. But it was really, really funny because halfway through, it changed from not, and it wasn't about me after that, but it was absolutely hilarious because the person that went on the quest goes in a wood, this silly wood, right? And they find me, but it's I'm dead. It's absolutely hilarious. I was in my seat pissing myself. So was my friend, and it was the Folly costume, and he had a stake put through him.
Oh God!
You didn't see his face. The head was hanging down with the trimester or whatever it's called, and the Foley roll like that, and it was a skeleton. No, it was a skeleton.
Oh my God!
He was yeah. And I couldn't stop laughing.
It says something about Yeah, he's a genius, as Paul. It does say something about Knightmare.
He actually was in that. He was in the horror film with my friend in Aberdeen, the second one that he did. I introduced him to Paul at the Knightmare Live gig when they came to Aberdeen when I was a guest. And my friend, who's the director who does the American thing, he was a huge fan of Knightmare, and he couldn't believe it. I did a little fight sequence in his first film up here, which is absolutely hilarious. And when he found out about me, a friend told him, another actor said, oh my God, you won't believe it. We've got this guy back in Aberdeen, and he was Folly the Bloody Jester. I went, no way. And he met me, and he went, Alec, I'd be over the moon if you did a little bit in my film. I said, of course, I'll come and do it. And it's hilarious, really, really funny. But anyway, I took him to Knightmare Live. He met Paul afterwards. Paul wanted to spend some time with me. We all had loads and loads of drinks. And at the end of it, I kept saying, this guy's brilliant. And my pal got in touch with him a year later and gave him a main role in one of his films.
Good choice. As I say, he's a genius. So it does say something about Knightmare. It does say something about Knightmare, doesn't it? That we're discussing you appearing dead, impaled through the heart with a stake, and we're laughing our bloody heads off at it. I'm
laughing at it all. I think it's hilarious. I'm telling you, this is what happened to Folly. He got enchanted by a witch that I think the witch dressed up as Gretel.
Ah, that makes sense. Yeah,
and lured them into this forest and then killed him.
Oh,
and left him there with his costume on. I think part of the quest was to get Folly's faulty roll. I think it was.
His laughter.
Something like that. Something like that. It was a quest to find. It wasn't the quest just to find Folly. It was to pick up something, because with Knightmare it was always about finding the objects. I think it was to get. But part of the quest was, well, we don't even know where Folly is, and they were taking the piss out of the fact, well, he disappeared after series 2. I'm sitting in the audience pissing myself.
Well, that's the silly thing about it.
You can tell. Yeah,
you can tell
all your people that listen.
They didn't.
That's exactly what.
They didn't have to go and search in the forest. All I had to do was just look into the audience, and you were sitting there just watching, pissing yourself laughing.
I was right at the back. Well, at the end of the show, Paul obviously put the spotlight on me without telling me, and went, "Actually, folks, we've got Alec Westwood, the original actor that played Folly, put the bloody spotlight." And I'm like that. No, and I was embarrassed because I was with a female pal, and I went, "I'm not. No, I actually got quite shy, because I wasn't prepared for it." And she went like that. She kicked my ass and said, "Get up, get up." The people are all applauding. And I went, "Okay, thank you.
Not thank you, really.
But anyway, I think that was a really good. I think Paul came up with the best ending for Folly ever. Absolutely perfect.
It's the only explanation I've ever heard, actually, so it might as well be the official one.
I'm sticking by it. I think it's the true explanation of what happened to Folly the Jester.
It's a curious one.
Rotting away. He's rotting away in this forest somewhere.
Yeah,
in Middle England.
Probably doesn't smell too nice by now, I imagine. But as I said, I've never heard Tim offer a different explanation. So yeah. That might as well be it.
You can tell Tim that. I think you'd find that.
I think he'll piss himself even more than you did.
But you can tell him, for me, how disappointed I was that I didn't come back. I really wanted to come back. Please tell him that, because I've always wanted. I mean, I know he knows that, but I never had any contact with him after that. I think he got in touch with me once about a possible remake happening. And then nothing came of it.
It was about around 2002, was it?
That's right.
Yeah.
And I did get an email from him saying, would you be interested perhaps? And I went, absolutely. I would love to do that again. If he was to come to me and say, look, we're going to do a little remake and have a bit of fun, would you want to reprise it? Because age doesn't matter.
Yeah. There's a few things here that we need to discuss. Firstly, on the issue of that remake, what they did was they got lottery money to create a machine for a VR Knightmare called the machine was called the Knightmare Demonstrator. They did actually create a pilot episode for Knightmare VR of about 15 minutes. Unfortunately, when they sent it around, the broadcasters, nobody wanted it, and so eventually had to give up. It was running a company called was it Televirtual, I think it was. Unfortunately, it folded around 2006 because it couldn't get enough work. There was a chance you might have been playing Folly again about 7 or 8 years ago. Because YouTube did the Geek Week.
YouTube one.
Yeah, the Geek Week.
They never asked me. They never got in touch.
I think that's a terrible shame. I think that's a terrible shame.
I would have loved to have gone and done that.
Not just nostalgia reasons.
That was what made me think maybe Tim was a little bit pissed off and decided no, we won't ask Alec because he turned us down for.
He might have thought because of all the big roles that you've been having that you thought it was beneath you now.
No, I would never. No, I don't think he would have thought that.
It is kind of sad though.
I definitely never think that way.
No, I don't believe you'd think that for a minute. No, but it is kind of sad because they actually did have a jester in the Geek Week episode. It was a guy called Sylvester.
I know. I really pissed me off. I watched it and I went.
I don't understand why. Yeah, I do not understand why he was a jester because he never told any jokes. And I was just thinking, why not just bring Paul Valentine or Alec Westwood back and let them play the actual jesters they were?
Either of us would actually been hilarious about both of us. That would have been funny.
Yeah, we could have a real
interaction between two completely different types of jesters. Yeah, I think there's a bit of mileage in that.
Yeah. But they could have a real insults to the death duel there, couldn't you? But instead they got this guy
going at it.
They just got
him with his glum one, and even like.
Precisely. So they're getting this guy who's just talking in really, really unfunny medieval English, and I'm just thinking, this is not working.
I was quite pleased because I thought that bit was shit. I thought the rest of it was really quite good, but I thought that bit was shit.
The Geek Week episode for me is got a lot of good parts in it, but it's less than the total is less than the sum. if you know what I mean. It's worth watching, but it doesn't quite click on the whole. But I think one thing that would certainly have helped it was if you or Motley had appeared in that scene, because at least then you've got somebody who is a jester rather than just somebody who's dressed up as a jester.
I'm gonna have to apologize a little bit. I'm running out of time a little bit here. I'm gonna have to go quite soon. Sorry.
I've just got one last
questions.
Got one last question to come to. In fact, it's completely away from acting. I already know the answer to this, but a lot of people don't. Is it true that you went to school with the Minister for Levelling Up, Michael Gove MP?
Correct.
Yes, I'm not going to ask you any more about it because I already know what you think.
I more than went to school with him. He was in my drama group, which started off my whole acting odyssey.
Yeah.
Right. He's actually a couple of years younger than me. I think he's 4 years younger, 3 or 4 years younger. I couldn't stand him. No. He was a creep when he was 15 years old, 14, 15. He was a creep then. He's a creep now, and I want that put on the record.
Absolutely. I think he's been a creep for every minute in between as well. Alec Westwood, star of stage, screen, and Twitch broadcasts. It has been an absolute privilege and pleasure speaking to you. I'm sure I speak for Mr. H as much as for myself when I say I hope you will keep in touch with the podcast and maybe be a guest again sometime in the near future, because it's very clear that you could do a podcast lasting about 6 hours.
I can talk for hours. If I didn't have something to go and do, I could speak to you for another 3 hours, believe me.
Do you have any last thoughts or anything you'd like to plug? Any plays or shows you're appearing in? Any websites?
Well, you can have a look at me in Shetland, the last series of Shetland. I'm in the very final episode. It's not a big part, but I kind of finished the whole series. That's sort of biggest mainstream thing that I'm in recently. I've got two feature films on Amazon. One's called Schemers. I've got a little bit in that, and I've got a bit in a horror film, an American horror film called The Redwood Massacre 2: Annihilation. And the thing that I'm very, very excited about, which have kind of got a link to Knightmare, is a new video game. Now, I'm just done the first part of the pilot of it, and that means kind of that it's in development.
Yeah.
But I've got the main part in it. It's set during the Robert the Bruce times in Scotland, but it's full of characters from all over the world, and I'm playing the alchemist in it, which is kind of the main character, and it's brilliant because when I did recorded what we call the first part of it, I was reminded of Knightmare. Although I mean he's not the jester, but it's the same period, and it's kind of. And it's a lot of fun. It's brilliant.
It'll have a very similar vibe.
You'll hear all about this. It's called Red Rampant.
Red Rampant. I will look out for that.
But that won't be released until probably next summer. You know, they've taken the pilot and they're using that to try and get the funding to do the rest of it.
Yeah.
But it's such a good idea and so well written that I do think it's going to happen. So
Great.
I think that's relevant talking about that because it's kind of.
Absolutely.
Geeky. It's a bit geeky.
Absolutely.
I've got quite a lot of these. I've got quite a lot of these little short films I've done, and they're quite a couple of ones that are very, very geeky. If you want to watch them, you can find them online. They are free to watch. The sci-fi one is called Children of Kronos.
Children of Kronos.
And the Ghostbusters local council Ghostbusters comedy is called Revenant Relocation Officers.
Revenant Relocation Officers. I hope you are taking notes at home, ladies and gentlemen, because this is quality stuff.
Children of Kronos is spelled Kronos. Yeah.
Excellent.
So if you want to, you can go online, Google that, put it in, and you can watch those two if you want to see me being very, very different from what I am as Bully. I'm the voice of a podcast which is about mainly Aberdeen, where I'm from, and about the hidden, horrible history and nasty stuff that has happened here throughout history and up until the present day, and a little bit of the Western Isles and a little bit of Scotland, and it's called the Dark Side of the Dean.
The Dark Side of the Dean.
The Dean is a nickname for Appleton. We call it the Dean.
The dark side of the Dean.
Side of the Dean. So you can get that online. I think there's about 6 episodes, and they're quite funny tales. I'm just narrating these tales.
Wonderful.
But it's all well produced with like other actors involved in music and stuff. And an absolute pleasure to do this with you, mate.
Same here, 100 times over. As I say, I hope we can do this again sometime soon.
You can follow us on Twitter. We're at Knightmare Pod.
If you want to support the podcast, we're Knightmare Pod on Patreon.
Speaking of Patreon, here's a shout out to keepers of the Book of Quests, Peter Pulsford and David N. Rabbit.
Advisors, Benjamin Bloom, Peter Sidorn, and David Thompson.
And Dungeoneer Peter Courage.
You can support us on Patreon at Dungeoneer level or above to get your name mentioned on the podcast. Higher level perks also receive merchandise, have access to exclusive episodes, and if you pledge as a keeper of the Book of Quests, we'll even offer you the chance to be a guest on the podcast.
Our website is knightmarepod.co.uk.
If you're looking for Temporal Discussion merchandise, including t-shirts, stickers, and other products, it's at knightmarepod.redbubble.com.
You can email us at podcast@knightmarepod.co.uk. The
last bit here is at the end of every podcast, we sign off. To make it sound a little bit like Nightmare, one of us says, and just keep telling yourself it's only a podcast, and the other one then sort of sound like Tracker goes, isn't it? I will do the first line, and then can you do your best Hugo impression? Yeah, okay. You've got very similar eyes to Hugo. I've just noticed actually when you widen them, very similar. That's almost haunting. I say,
I'm acting. That's me acting as Hugo.
Yeah. Very good.
Oh,
very good.
Go. Yeah, go for it.
And just keep telling yourself it's only a podcast.
Isn't it?
Magnificent. That was wonderful. Thank you so much. That is 2 hours of absolute gold. Thank you so much.
Well, I mean, you can edit into it, do what you want. You have my permission to do whatever you want with it. Okay?
Cheers. We will have to edit it because we can only do about an hour, but that was fantastic.
Well, as I say, I mean, I've gone on radio programs and they've had to fucking shut me up. You go, Alec, we're running out of time. We're running out of time. I just like talking, mate. I mean, that's what us actors do. If you like talking, you do it for a living, and I do a lot of voiceover stuff. Fantastic.
Thank you again so much. It's been 2 hours of genuinely of gold, and we're going to make a great podcast out of this.
That's kind of it's like it's quite a cold night out there, so I wasn't going anywhere. It's like when it's 0 degrees in Aberdeen tonight.
It's not much warmer in Manchester.
We were so warm. It was is that where you are, Manchester? Yeah. It was 11 degrees. I might be in Manchester in January.
Okay.
As a short film, it's all to do with finance. They've not got their finance, and obviously I don't do stuff unless I'm paid. I'll do stuff like this. It's a wee short film that might be filming in Manchester in mid-January. So I'll give you a shout.
Give me a shout. Yeah, I will have a pint. Yeah, excellent idea. Okay.
I lived in Manchester. I worked at the Library Theatre in Manchester.
Did you? All right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I've worked in nearly every theatre.
You've worked everywhere, haven't you, though? You've worked everywhere.
Yeah. I love Manchester. I think Manchester's a great city. Love it. And all my favourite bands come from Manchester.
Yeah,
all my favourite bands are from there.
It's one of the music capitals of the world, isn't it? It's glorious.
Absolutely. Yeah, glorious. But it's a good city. I got on well with a lot of people there. I've still got friends from there. But I've not been there for years. So, but if I get this little short, I'll give you a shout and I'll.
Please do, yeah, please do. Maybe we'll record ourselves in the pub for another podcast. That could be.
Do that.
Okay, mate,
I've got to go and meet someone.
Absolutely, no problem, mate. Okay, see you soon.